Hello, thank you for joining this session of the Tampa Account Engagement Community Group. My name is Ben Lamoth. I'm a Senior Solutions Architect with BDO Digital, and I've been leading this community group since 2020. In this meeting, I'm going to be going over some of the available out-of-the-box reporting options that exist for building Salesforce reports using account engagement data. This is not going to go into B2BMA at all. It is all just going to be standard Salesforce reports and dashboards. If you'd like to work together, please feel free to reach out. You can email me, or you can send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. So my email address, I will put it in the chat here for anybody who is interested. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there. But if you have interest in working together, if you have something that you have something that you're working on, feel free to reach out. We can see if we can get something together. All right, so now on to the kind of the meat of the conversation here. It's not a secret that the out-of-the-box reporting that's available in account engagement leaves a lot to be desired. It is one area that Salesforce has not spent really any effort enhancing since they first acquired it. When they first acquired ExactTarget, there have been some small tweaks here and there within the Lightning app, but reports has been kind of left behind in that effort. So everything that we see here is more or less what it looked like 10 years ago. They may have added a couple of things here that as part of enhancements, but generally speaking, it's pretty thin. You can do there's audits. This is an open rules audit from a recent release, but standard reporting is all done largely in tables. Because this is a dev org, I don't have any list emails to show you, but in this instance here. But all of your reporting on email templates, forms, landing pages it's all just tables that you can export into a CSV if you need to put it on other places, to do more manipulation than what Pardot or account engagement will allow you to do. And my suspicion about the reason why it is that way is because Salesforce has chosen the path of trying to make the most of the integration between Pardot and Salesforce to make the most of the connector and encourage people to use reports instead, and reports and dashboards in Salesforce using data that exists from account engagement. One thing that I do want to note when we are talking about reports in account engagement, if you go into account engagement settings and then go into the connector, you'll notice that there's this thing called the asset sync queue. For those unfamiliar, the asset sync queue is the syncing of assets that you create, landing pages, emails, forms, marketing links, and syncing them, not necessarily the asset itself, but all of the metadata, if you will, about the actual asset, in any reportable data. So when you create an email, landing page, form, marketing link, that will then get queued to sync into your Salesforce org. Within Salesforce, you have several objects: list emails, marketing forms, marketing links, landing pages. These are all account engagement assets. So if I look at marketing forms, you see that these are two forms that were created from account engagement from Pardot and were synced over. So when I click on this, it's showing me all of the data that would exist in this form. So this actually has a significant amount of implication for us when we are wanting to build reporting. I've heard many different people say that that they feel frustrated that they feel like they can't share marketing asset engagement KPIs with anybody unless they have a Pardot user. And I get that, but there is a solution. There is a where you would be able to create a report using this data. The downside of this report, as I'm going to show you in a second, and Miranda and Amber, I see your questions. I will get there in 1 second, is by creating reports that will give you some data, but there is a gap in that data. So if I were to go and create a new report, and then if there's a custom report type called list emails. So this is a list email object that I can then leverage to create a list email report. And what you have here is you have everything else like you would normally see. You want to see my list emails, all list emails. You can go by. There's something worth noting is the term scheduled date is sent date. It is kind of a funny. You wonder why they wouldn't just use the word sent date, but they don't for some reason. So you need to make sure that you've selected if you have a specific date that you want to look at these emails through. You can see you can include the subject line, delivery rates, your open rates, your opt-out rates. That's all your standard email data. Total sent, etc. And the one thing that I want to note is that when building this kind of report using the list email object, for example, it currently is only able to give you aggregate data. It is not able currently to produce a report that shows you, as far as I know, and if someone can feel free to correct me, it will only give me aggregate report data of this specific email. So obviously I have no list emails here, but it would just be the name of the email, the campaign that email is in, the subject line, delivery rate, open rate, total sent, and type. But this is only going to give you the actual aggregate email performance data. It's not going to give you individuals saying, show me everyone who opened this email. Currently, at least in reports, and as far as I know, the reports are not able to do that. They're not able to give you that data. I'm pretty sure that the data is available. It's just for some reason, the way that the data skew is done for report purposes, that data is not available in this way. There is a way to get to it, but it's not as, it definitely takes some work to get there. So I'm going to go to these questions here. So we have Amber, Miranda, I'm going to put it here, Emil, and we have Beatrice. So the question here is, what would cause you to not see things like marketing forms on the Salesforce side? So a few things that might cause that, like here's kind of a list of things to check, is to make sure that your user has marketing user checked. So when you go to your user account, and then go to user detail, and then make sure that your marketing user is checked. That's one thing. Another is going to be making sure that you have the correct permission sets, whether you're a Sales Cloud user or a CRM user. I've given myself a lot of these, obviously, but you also just may not have view access to that object. So you're going to want to go into whatever your user is, whatever your profile is, and make sure that you have read access at the very least for those various objects. Go into object settings, object manager in here, look for, and then basically go down the list of all these objects and make sure that you can see them. So like the marketing, let's see here. So list email, the dev org is very slow today. You've got it, you can see it, the tab is default on. So these are certain things that if for some reason your specific profile doesn't have access to the list emails object, I would make sure that you have it. The other thing worth noting is also checking in account engagement, because if you go into account engagement and you're not using two things, you're not using connected campaigns. This is in order for this to work, connected campaigns has to be functional and running. So that is a critical component here. If you do not have connected campaigns, this will not work. You will not be able to bring this in. If you do have it, then I would go and check to make sure that you are in your connector. Let's go back to the connector again, and see if you are using an outdated connector. Make sure that you have a asset sync queue here. If this is here and you've got connected campaigns, then it's an object visibility question. Question about, are there any Salesforce links on how to expand these reports as you are doing? What custom report types to build? So when you're thinking about custom report types, I would think about it in the perspective of what are you ultimately trying to achieve? What is the main object? So when you go into report types and you are wanting to understand, what I'm going to show you is there are significant limitations if your top level object is list emails or marketing forms. If you use marketing forms, let's say you've got Pardot forms, you just call it that, report on Pardot forms, and you put it in campaigns, do it as deployed. There is not a whole lot here that you can append. So if you're using marketing forms as the top level, then it's not going to give you much else to attach to it. You could add a marketing form feed, and then you could add comments, but there really isn't a whole lot else here. If you were to try to create, for example, like this is a report that's now available, so I could now create a report type, a report using the marketing forms report to create a report of my forms. So it looks like I've already actually created two. That makes sense. I probably tried to do this before. So you can see like all your marketing forms and filter it however you need it to be filtered. There is some cross filter, but it's very limited. So you have very little ability to do any kind of additional cross filtering. However, your marketing forms are available for cross filtering when you are needing to do with if your primary object is not the form. If your top level filter is, if your top level object is, let's say, contacts, you could create, and let me just go here and look at these. I'll just show you an example. Total submissions, total views, type. The type column is for Pardot form or form handler. See, so we have type, form handler, type, form. And if I wanted to, I could, like if you have an example, so let's say you have a campaign and you've got, let's say 4 or 5 forms in that campaign. You can build a report that either only shows you those forms from that campaign, or if you need to see, or if you want to see all your forms, but clustered by campaign, you can just drop it up here, and then it'll show you all of the forms per campaign. So that is helpful if you're wanting to kind of cluster everything together. Something that I've done recently is, let's say for this specific form, this form registration for event. Let's get out of this. Let's remove this. Let's say that I only want to see forms with a form name of this, and actually, no. This is it. I forgot the. So here's what we do. I'm sorry. I need to back it up. So we've so in this kind of situation, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a campaign that a campaign that has a form in it. And what I want to be able to do is create a recurring, basically an email update. So instead of you having to go into Salesforce every day and say, oh, how many forms, how many completions did we get yesterday? You could instead, let's get out of this, because this is only focusing on the campaign, or only focusing on the form. So a report type that you could create is one where you are able to create knowing that a campaign, so campaign with campaign members. In this scenario, you're not even using the form object. You're only using the campaign, like let's say you have this campaign, the campaign influence test, and you know that as part of your completion actions on your form, people are being added to this campaign. So name, so we have all of these here, and then member first associated date. Yesterday. So now that I've got this, and I know that this campaign is going to be populated using the form completions, I'm not even having to use the form object. But what I can do is I can create a subscription level report that will send an email every, let's say, daily at 8 a.m. And what this email will be is it'll show me everybody who was first associated with this campaign yesterday. So all of the form completions from yesterday, if you need to be able to surface this data with somebody and you're adding the completion action on the form to add them to this campaign, you can create this recurring report every day to give visibility to your manager, to somebody else, so they can see at a very high level how many form completions are happening each day. If that's a requirement that exists for you, then this is something that you could do using leveraging data that's coming out of account engagement with the reports to be able to see, to be able to surface this data. It's just one example, because this is something I actually had to create recently, so it's more top of mind. I mentioned earlier that you're able to build these reports based on the specific objects. So you've got like your forms, your list, your emails, your campaigns, about the forms, links, emails, landing pages are reports that you can build in Salesforce. You can also, I believe, let's try this. If we wanted to, let me try something here. Campaigns with campaign members. This might not be the right one. A underappreciated feature here is the cross filter. So we do have some ability here to leverage landing pages. So show me campaign members. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't want. Maybe it doesn't want me to do that. Okay, so campaign members won't let me do this. I thought it would. I think it's a different report type that I can do this with. Yes, it is a different report type, not campaigns. So let's do contacts. Let's see if it'll work with contacts. There is a cross filter function that will allow me to. So contacts and accounts. Contacts. With campaign history. Let's see here. I have, nope, it's not campaign history. It's, this is the beauty of these workshops, because I am kind of working things out with you guys on the fly. So good times. It might be campaign history. There is a way to leverage the cross filter with, I'm pretty sure it's contacts with, pretty sure that it's campaign history. And then unique email clicks is at least 1 or equals is greater than 1. So this will show me everybody who has clicked an email in a campaign. Same thing I can do for forms, I can do for landing pages, and so on. So you do have some ability to grab the individual asset engagement. It is a bit of a trial and error, because you have to kind of work around the object relationships. So contacts with, yeah, see, so there's no, so it has to be through, most likely it has to be through the campaign history, because the activities won't do it. But this is an example of some of the reports. This is an example of a report you could build that I would encourage you to spend some time trying to get your arms around what kind of cross filtering exists, because it's like I said, it's not currently possible to really grab that data at an individual level to say, show me everybody who clicked on this link, or show me everybody who opened this email. Currently, the data is only going to be in aggregate. So some of the other reports that you can build, let's just start clicking around a bit and seeing what we come up with. So like I said, you have these objects that you can use. Let's look at some more objects. Oh, you can use category scores. So if you want to see a report of everybody who's if you've got a specific category score in mind, you can use that. You say contacts with Pardot contact scores, or Pardot categories, scoring categories. Let's see here. Let's actually go and create a contact. Curious what this object looks like. Okay. Okay, cool. So I can actually use this one. I wasn't sure if I could. So let's go contact full name, scoring category name. It's not going to return anything because I don't have anything in here, but what you're able to do, let's get rid of the scoring ID. So if you had a specific scoring category, if you're using scoring categories, you can use the scoring category object from Pardot into Salesforce. And so what this will do is, if you happen to want to be able to see, as a use case, I want to see all contacts that have at least 50 points in this one scoring category. You can say, knowing, if you know what the category name is, it's not going to like pre-fill it, so you have to know what it's called. And then you should be able to score. Yeah. So category name, and then that should show you all of the scores for that specific category. You should be able to filter based on a total score for that category. I'd have to double check that. But what I wanted to ultimately bring to your attention is that you do have the ability to leverage scoring categories in reporting. And this is particularly helpful when you have well-defined scoring categories, and the scoring categories factor into your lead cycle and and how you qualify leads, especially if you're looking at them through the lens of engagement around specific subcategories of assets, especially as it relates to like your products and so on. So, like I said, because this is a dev org, I don't really have much data to give you here, but it was more just to more to demonstrate that if you do use scoring categories, you can use those scoring categories for reporting. From obviously all the data is going to accumulate in Pardot, but it will become leverageable in Salesforce because much like, since everything is object oriented in Salesforce, the scoring category is just an object that is in Pardot that gets created and filled in Salesforce. And since it's an object and has a lookup relationship to a contact, that makes it reportable. That's really the critical thing, is if it has a lookup relationship one-to-one to a contact or a prospect, you can probably report on it. There are just some funky things data skew wise that you might just have to kind of play around with. Like if you think, okay, what kind of reporting can I build using scoring categories? It may be a lot, it may not be much. So you kind of have to go and build report types and just see what is possible, because there isn't exactly a manual on all the different kinds of reports that are available to you. So if you wanted to do like, show me all leads with scoring category you would build this, and then you would see what kind of data you can make work with that. Oh, maybe it looks like I've already created that. Interesting. All right, let's go do that. I forget the reports I create. Reports. So this gives me a lot more data. So if I want to be able to see, like, because my top level object is the lead, I'm able to access all of those lead fields. And then the second level is going to be the score. That's going to be the scoring category. So if I want to be able to build a very narrow view of leads based on particular criteria, like I only want to see leads that are in the Pacific Northwest with values, and I want to see the scores in this specific category for all leads that are in the Pacific Northwest. You could, and then it'll tell you who's got those high scores, who's got scores in those categories. This is data that previously, like before Kinetic campaigns and all that, just lived exclusively in Pardot. But if the marketing and sales teams are working together, then you can build reports about things like your scoring categories in Salesforce. The benefit of building a lot of these reports in Salesforce is twofold. One, typically that's going to be more malleable and it's going to be a lot more flexible. You can build things, you can kind of build very either big wide views, or you can really get narrow on it. And the second is that it becomes a lot more shareable. You can elevate the level of visibility to the data that's happening in the marketing automation org through Salesforce to give others within your organization the ability to see that data. And I think that is one of the things that prior to this was a big complaint. People still don't really like the reporting out of Pardot because it's not in-app reporting is pretty not good, but you do gain some flexibility by leveraging all of the different pieces that are coming, that are being pulled out of Pardot and being written into Salesforce. Some of the reports that I've mentioned are looking at specific metrics, specific reporting around a campaign. So if you want to see, if you're running a engagement studio and you wanted to be able to have a singular view of all of the KPIs for the 4 landing pages that are in this campaign, you can build that report and can include all of the reporting KPIs that matter to you. The completion rate, the number of visits, the number of all these different things. And then that then becomes either a shareable report or something that you can turn into a report in a dashboard and add some visualization to it. By having all these data points from Pardot in the Salesforce, you're able to leverage leverage the data more effectively, and able to demonstrate the effectiveness of your marketing efforts because instead of it being kind of locked in your marketing automation tool, because of the Pardot Salesforce integration, you can see a lot more here through your reporting. The question previously about what kind of report types that should be created, you can see I've created all kinds of random report types. Some of these things are just things that I thought of that I realized that I wanted to be able to see. Contacts with form completions was one. So contacts with at least one related record from campaign history, with at least one related record from marketing forms. So these 3 step downs here is how I get to contacts with marketing with a form completion. Let's look at this report type, because this is kind of what I was referring to before of having to drill down into specific data relationships. So contacts with form completions. Yes, it would work for form handlers as well. So if you wanted to do by type, so let's look at contact, created date, all time, and then marketing form type. You have marketing form or form handler. So you just have to select which one you want. If you're only interested in form handlers, you can click on that. So this is showing me all contacts that have a record of having completed this testing resubscribe form. So the only problem that I've found with this is that it's not giving me, like if I do last modified date, I'm pretty sure that's all going to be the same date. Yeah. So if I see new contacts with form completion report, and then I go and I look at Rose Gonzalez, it might actually be 4/4 just because this is today. And yeah, see, so it's continually, because this is a dev org, it's continually filling kind of false yeah, it's basically just continually filling kind of false data. If I want to see all the forms that someone completed, I believe it should go this way. Yeah, so this would show me, this should show me, for example, that Andy has completed 2 forms. I'm not 100% sure if this last modified date is just the last modified date of the form or the last modified date as the date of completion. So if you are wanting to build a report that intends to show you what forms someone has completed, this should be able to get you there. It's just going to be kind of imperfect. So Andy Young, 2 forms, testing resubscribe and form resubscribe from event. I don't know why it's not showing me. I think just because this is I'm in the wrong person. That's why. I need to look at Andy Young. Very interesting. If I had my lists down here of, because I can add a list view that will show me all the assets that they filled out. But I don't know. There's something about this report that I'm not liking, because I feel like it should show me more than just these two. If he is alleged to have completed, unless it's the same form over and over again, I don't know. I have questions about whether this report is just because it's a dev org, or if this is a legitimate report. I'm not thinking it is. I think this should work, and this is just a dev org thing, because Andy Young is shown to have completed a few forms, and the fact that he's not in here like this is curious. So, but I would, in your org, if you wanted to play around with it and see what results you get, this is how I built it. I started with contacts as the top level, and then I added it with at least one record related to campaign history, and then within campaign history, at least one record related to marketing forms. In theory, you should be able to do the same thing, except with list emails. Will it actually work? Hard to know. Let's try. So from here, okay, so I can use list emails. That's interesting. Why are there no fields for list email? This one might have to be. So there is something that you can do. This is something that I've actually learned recently, is you can add fields via lookup in a custom report. So that's not what I need. I don't understand why I can't see. I must have to be able to. I must have to add it in here, because it's not showing up on its own. But this should, in theory, allow me to leverage Did you guys lose my video? I see that Brittany can only see the create report. Okay, all right. So since it doesn't want to add on its own, I'm just going to add it here. All right, can you guys see my screen that where I'm on the report types? I'm back on report types with, okay, awesome. So there is, let's see, let's look at the list email sent results. Let's see. Some of these are interesting. I'm not really sure what I'm going to get with them. Let's look. Contacts with list emails. Let's create that and see what it looks like. So I added a bunch of fields. Some of these fields are also interesting because, like program name, I believe that program name is the name of your engagement studio. Though, actually, no, that's not right. It's I remember thinking that it was going to be that, and it ended up not. So I don't think that's right, unfortunately. I wish I had some list email results to be able to show you here so I could really demo this. But ultimately, I think really just, I don't know that you probably don't need the list email results. That one probably is kind of excessive. But if you wanted to look at leads and contacts through the lens of the things that they've done, contacts with campaign history with list emails, contacts with campaign history with marketing links, campaign history with forms, with landing pages, and so on. It is possible to do this with Engagement Studio. Not with contacts though. Let's go back to list emails. So if you needed to see a view of Engagement Studio emails, you should be able to do this. Let's see, type. List email type is automated email or list email. Those are the two types that are available. Automated email is going to be a Engagement Studio. It's going to be a completion action. The list email sent results, I don't believe it shows click data. The click data that you're going to see is going to be on the list email itself, list email report. So like total clicks, click to open ratio, unique clicks, but it's in aggregate. So I'm not necessarily able to give you a report, I don't think. I could be wrong, but of these, like, show me all of the emails that Abby clicked on, and then showing you a list of everything with name of the emails and so on. I don't know that that's possible to deliver. However, it is possible to deliver aggregate click data for a whether it's a list email or a automated email, for an Engagement Studio or a completion action, automation rule, send. Those are all things that would be considered automated emails and would show up here as automated. But you would be able to view the aggregate click data that way, just not at an individual level. So we're getting close to the end here. I know that this was kind of all over the place, but that's kind of what these are. Is I just kind of click around and answer questions and try and show you things as they occur to me. The message that I'd like everyone to kind of take away from this is that you do have a lot of options when it comes to building reports in Salesforce of your Pardot marketing activity. There are some blind spots, some areas where you don't get as much flexibility as you would probably think you should, but there's still a lot here. You can still build reports that are meaningful and that will allow you to share those reports out to leadership, whether it's through a dashboard or it's through a subscribe function where you send your managers or whomever a list of all of the email data, all of the email data from the last day, or forms completions. Being able to show the data in that way is meaningful, and it really takes that integration to another place when it comes to being able to report, because there are certain things that are just not terribly easy to report on in the standard Lightning and in the standard Lightning app. But you do have options building traditional reports and dashboards in Salesforce using that data. I don't think there was anything else that I needed to show you guys or off the top of my head. I know that Brittany, you had a question at the very top about the article, how to measure individual Pardot email link clicks in Salesforce. I'm sure you're trying to report on a donation link that was sent out over multiple emails. The emails were deployed as list emails. Should we pursue UTMs or custom redirects to pull the number of prospects who click the donation link? I would, if your goal is to understand the number of prospects who click the link, just click the link. I would use custom redirect, because custom redirect will tell you the number of clicks that happened on that specific link, and it'll give you a view, like a table view of everyone who clicked on it. UTMs are going to give you is helpful, but UTMs in the context of Pardot, it's a little frustrating. It doesn't do as much as you'd like it to do. So if you're trying to just get a sense of that specific link, I would use a custom redirect. All right, well, that's all that I have today. There is another one of these that I'm doing in a week or two about building different kinds of lists in account engagement, static list, dynamic lists, kind of more advanced segments that you could build, different use cases that you could think through. And then I'm in the planning stages of another meeting with someone else about person accounts in Pardot, how they work, their limitations, their form and function, and so on. So thank you everybody for joining. This is super helpful, and to me, to kind of hear everybody talk about their different questions, and I hope this was helpful to you. So with that, I hope to see you guys again soon. Have a good rest of your day.